We are already seeing some economic knock-on effects from last night's strikes in Iran. Oil prices today jumped to a 5-month high, with Brent crude, which is a global benchmark for oil prices, soaring as much as 5.7% after the market opened this evening. Oil had already surged over 10% since Israel launched strikes against Iran a week ago. This all comes amid growing questions about whether Iran is going to move forward with closing the Strait of Hormuz. Located along part of Iran's southern border, the strait connects the Persian Gulf to the open ocean. A large portion of the world's oil and liquefied natural gas passes through it, about 20%, meaning that a blockade would send oil prices soaring. Joining us now, Helima Croft, RBC Capital Markets Global Head of Commodity Strategy. Helima, thanks for joining us. How devastating could Iran's closure of the Strait of Hormuz be to both the broader global economy, but also to Iran itself?
I mean, the closure of the Straits of Hormuz would be a scenario we would obviously see oil prices return to triple-digit levels. Now, the real question, though, is does Iran have the capacity to actually physically close the straits? Now, most security experts do not think they could close the straits for an extended period of time. The U.S. Fifth Fleet is in Bahrain. That would be called upon to reopen the straits. But Iran does have the capacity to target tankers in the straits. They did target 2 tankers in 2019 off the coast of UAE after we reimposed maximum pressure sanctions. They also retained short-range missiles that could target key energy facilities in the Gulf. And they also have proxy groups in places like Iraq that could target energy infrastructure in that important producing country. So again, there's a lot of focus on closing the straits. I don't think Iran can do that, but they do have the capacity to curtail energy supplies from the region if they would like to do so.
And why might they want to do so?
So we've seen a strategy from the Iranians before. Again, I bring up 2019. We reimposed maximum pressure sanctions, basically said to Iran, you're not going to be able to sell your most important asset. And Iranian officials said if we can't sell our oil, nobody can sell their oil. And they specifically targeted critical Gulf energy infrastructure. Again, they hit those tankers, they hit pipelines, and then in September, they hit the all-important Abqaiq facility in Saudi Arabia, the world's largest oil processing facility, temporarily taking off half of Saudi Arabia's production. The goal was to impose economic costs on the United States, on Western consumers for imposing those sanctions. So if we look at the current situation, you ask, what cards does Iran have left to play? Do they want to play the economic card? Do they want to internationalize the cost of the U.S. and Israeli action? And you can basically see what would happen to U.S. consumers if we had triple-digit oil prices. You're going to be paying a lot more at the pump.
What's the short-term outlook when it comes to gas prices for the American consumer as people are getting ready to go on summer vacations and are on the road more than they might normally be?
So we are going into the peak summer driving season, heading into the 4th of July. Before this conflict broke out, people were pretty sanguine about the oil situation because we don't have a shortage of supply on the market right now. U.S. production has been strong. We're getting more oil on the market from OPEC countries. There had been concerns about demand because of the trade war. So it wasn't set up for a summer of high energy prices. All of that has changed with this Middle Eastern war, and we really have to see, does Iran make good on threats to impede traffic in the Straits of Hormuz? Is other energy infrastructure at risk in the world's most prolific production zone?
Are there particular countries that would be hurt more than others if Iran decided to, if not necessarily shut down all ships that are transiting through those straits, but if they decided to go after a bunch of tankers? I mean, oil is a global market, but I'm wondering if it really matters where those tankers are destined for, and if that means they can somehow hurt the United States or hurt China or hurt Russia or some other country that they really want to put pressure on.
Certainly, we would all feel the effects of a blockage. Again, a blockage would be hard, but, action in the Straits of Hormuz at targeted tankers. We would all feel the effects because it's a global market. So gasoline prices in the United States would rise. Now, you brought up the issue of where does this oil go? It does primarily go to Asia, and Iran itself has been selling almost exclusively to China because of sanctions. And there is a view out there in the market that Iran would not take action to impede the flow of traffic in the Straits because they would not want to antagonize China. But if the Iranian leadership believes that they are facing a regime change effort, are they going to care so much about keeping China well supplied? Or again, are they going to try to change the decision-making calculus in places like Washington? And President Trump has been very concerned about inflation. He has been very happy that we have had lower gasoline prices recently. So again, if you are the Iranians, they may look to play the card they played in 2019 and try to drive up energy prices to make President Trump think again about the cost of this war.
Thank you so much for joining us, Halima Croft.